I mean, I'm a sports promoter, obviously. I started off with a love of a particular sport called snooker and a friend in Steve Davis, which gave me the interest to work on the sport. My background is a chartered accountant, so I always, whilst I'm a promoter, it's always hand in hand with a set of accounts and a budget and a cash flow. So I'm the 21st century promoter, and today's age is not just about loving the sport, which you have to do it properly, but to exploit it properly as well. Generally speaking, I've always considered myself, probably wrongly, sort of king of the working class. You know, the type of person I am, I'm a very working class. I enjoy what normal blokes enjoy, you know, which is a fun night out. I like to be entertained by excellence in the sporting sense. I like to be in the surroundings that I'm happy and comfortable in. And I like to leave with a smile on my face that I've had value for money. So when I look at a sport, my first attitude is always, with my TV hat on, is this going to rate on TV? And the answer is yeah, generally yes, if you do the job properly. But you have to look at the modern day techniques rather than just sticking a show on. That doesn't exist anymore. You have to build characters, you have to take into account the changing climatic use of the customer these days, because we are seeing a huge change in younger people getting more involved in watching sport, and those younger people wanting instant gratification. You know, the rise of UFC, 2020 cricket, I know we'll talk about the darts, prize fighter boxing series. They've all got one thing in common, you know, it's instant entertainment. So you have to look at your target market. When you look at a sport, you look and say, can I add something to this? Can I do it differently? Can I make it more commercially viable? Many sports I've looked at, the answer has been no. So I've not got involved. Generally, I look at sports that I participate in myself personally, because I feel more of a passion for those sports. But the overriding principle is giving people value for money, whether they're a sponsor, whether they're a customer, or whether they're a TV company. If everyone, as Rockefeller said, if everyone ends up with a bit of bread in their mouth, everybody's happy. You can be selling anything. It's a dream factory. It's a soap opera. You know, I'm selling characters mainly. I'm trying to build characters into becoming household names, and on their coattails, the sport will move forward. This is not rocket science. It's not new. I mean, look at what Tiger Woods has done for golf, if you like, and various basketball people in America have done fantastic business for basketball. It's been character-led. It's been personality-driven. You know, the whole world is a soap opera. The whole world we live in today is reality TV and ongoing soaps that are scheduled at the same time every week, week in, week out. So we build a solid base of support and we become part of everyone's diaries for the week. No difference in sport, really. You know, you have to have the personalities to drive the sport forward, to attract the media, to give yourself footage in papers, and to drive the ratings. Without TV ratings, I die. I am dead. There's no point in me loving something to death if it doesn't rate. But there's always an opportunity to grow. And sometimes, you know, a lot of these sports that I've got involved in have had governing bodies or had institutional support that have actually held the game back, that haven't looked at new frontiers, haven't looked at new ways of promoting, haven't looked at new ways of staging. They've got complacent. That's when I'm my biggest strength, is when I find people who are complacent, because that's the biggest sin in the world. Snooker was a massive business for me in the 80s and 90s. And it was, again, personality-driven, with names that people remember to this day, even if they're not still playing. Dennis Taylor with the funny glasses, Bill Werbeniuk drinking 16 pints of lager in a match, Alex Higgins headbutting officials, Steve Davis being very boring. Doesn't make any difference. They were all personalities, all characters in their own right. Of course, then the sport became aspirational for young people at that time, and it brought about a whole wave of new players who were very good technically, that had learned the lessons from Davis and Hendry predominantly, but didn't have the character or the personality to take it to a wider audience. And that's probably the reason why, with the exception of Ronnie O'Sullivan, snooker has become a little bit more downward spiral in terms of growth. It's not looking as if it's going to get bigger. But the world opened up. So there was still, within that downward spiral for a particular sport, there was still an opportunity to take a blue ribboned event to go back to the old-fashioned rules about every game should be a marquee game. And obviously, if it's exposed around the world, then the sponsors are going to get the value, and hence the Premier Snooker League was formed. And whereas other events have either died or remained static, the Premier Snooker League over its 26 years has grown year on year to being the most widely televised snooker event out there. Could you do another one? Probably not. But it's got its target market and it achieves its objectives. It makes a lot of money. There isn't a little black book. But basically you start off with, there are three key areas in any business. You start off by first being, common sense comes to play. You look at the target. What is your target audience for this particular activity, to call it something? Then you say, right, well, if I think I'm going to pitch this for this particular target audience, then I look, how can I exploit it in a way that perhaps it's never been exploited before? In today's changing world of technology, exploitation in my field takes into everything from web streaming to mobile rights to DVD, home use. There's a whole range of different forms of exploitation, which in the past TV contracts were one contract, and they contained all the various audio-visual intellectual property rights. Now, there may be 10, 12 contracts. So you look at different ways of exploiting it. And then, of course, at the end of the day, you've got to assess its value. You've got to have some criteria. Has this event been successful to continue an investment, which it inevitably needs early doors? And that can be not just a profit and loss account. That can be TV ratings. That can be customer satisfaction. The biggest thing is people have to enjoy the experience. And if it does, if you feel you're achieving that, then you've got room to grow. They asked me about 5 or 6 years ago if I would consider becoming the chairman, which I don't do unless I control the equity. They needed money, they were losing money, so the deal was struck. And I ended up as the majority shareholder and the chairman of the Professional Darts Corporation. The reason I did it comes back to target. I walked into a darts match 7 years ago, and my first line was, "I smell money." All I could see was working class people having a cracking night out, having a beer, having some food, usually with their wives, girlfriends, having a bet, all the sort of things that I would do for a cracking night out. And I loved it, and I loved the atmosphere it created. And I looked at the players, they were earned prize money for the whole year was £500,000. They all had jobs, but they loved their darts. Most important of all, they were characters. Everyone had a story, everyone come from a different background, most of them had struggled to be where they are. So that was very appealing as a starting point. Then you start thinking, well, we need to make more of this. We need to get exposure for these guys in the broader sense in the media to build their business, to build their IP rights themselves, if you like. I'm quite good at television, I think, I hope, after all these years. Sky were fantastic in terms of the resources that they committed. I sold them the package. And then we built through constant exposure of the brand being darts. Where we were helped was this cyclical shift in the sporting audience away from the 45 to 55-year-olds down to the 18 to 25-year-olds. And darts, this scene, for some reason, being in the right place at the right time really helps. You can be a genius. If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, you've had it. It was just the right time when the young people wanted entertainment, quick results in a jovial atmosphere. And darts ticked the boxes on every single point.